Hey y'all, it's Dark Sugar Podcast coming to you fresh out the packet with everything black.
So happy because we have our connoisseur of of politics, our co-creator Emma, with us because we are going to do a rundown of week 1 of President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and what he's doing so far. A lot has happened. A lot of us were feeling relieved. We cried. We were like, is this actually happening? Are we actually ending this 4-year run of embarrassment, to say the least? And for a lot of Americans, just a constant fear for the future and for their lives and for the livelihood of friends and family that have been affected by Trump's, I don't want to say presidency. What did he do? Attempt. I don't know what it was. But we just want to talk about and reflect and hopefully open up the conversation for what the next 4 years is going to look like and how to move forward, how to reflect, how do we take what we've learned from the past and apply it to the future. And I guess I want to start with what we were talking about earlier is, leading up to the inauguration, we were thinking Trump's gonna try something. He's gonna do something. He had his Twitter shut down. It was just building up to the fake news that he calls it. Mm-hmm. It was just, I think, at the boiling point.
Yeah, I think it was like a collective build of anxiety for not just the country, but the world, really. Everyone was kind of like, are y'all okay?
Right. The crazy thing is we figured, okay, he's going to try something.
Yes.
But
it was the what.
The what. And you helped me understand that the coup at the Capitol was definitely his doing, his encouragement. He allowed it. He and gave these people just so many alternative facts, we were living in several different realities at the time. Trump allowed Americans to really think that certain things that were happening that weren't. And let's just talk about the fact that are just pure shock that it even happened. And the fact that if everyone talks, if it was another person of color, anybody of color, black people, that wouldn't have gone down. That wouldn't have happened. But were you actually shocked? Or were you just shook?
What I will say is I think I felt like something was going to happen prior because my mom is totally a conspiracy theorist, right? And she's always calling me and, telling me the latest thing that's happening in the Twitter sphere. My mom had Twitter before I did.
So on it.
Yeah. So I think she was like, Emma, these people, they're going to try something. They're going to do something. And I was like, no way, Mom. Like, they're crazy, but they're not that crazy. And I think that my dismay and shock was at the level of crazy. And just the juxtaposition of us having been at, marches and, demonstrations in June, just earlier last year, and just the sheer amount of force and violence that we were met with while peacefully protesting, unarmed. We very well could have been out there exercising also our Second Amendment right and having rifles strapped to our chests. Not that that's necessary, but we could have been doing that. And we were just out there with signs and water bottles, and we had the entire Phoenix police force out there in riot gear, just waiting, and with drones flying in the sky. They had that facial recognition tower thing on the back of that car. There was a point where we were making sure that anyone that was undocumented was on the inside of the crowd, so they couldn't be picked off. And just, experiencing that and experiencing the fear that we felt in our interactions with the police last summer. And then just like seeing the juxtaposition of what happened at the Capitol was just astonishing. So I think that overall was what I was shocked at. But, surprised that it happened or that the attempt was made, definitely not, because at this rate, and if we've learned anything over the past 4 years, it's just been that anything can happen at any time.
Right.
And we are not in control. But I think that that's really what this political process has been about for so many of us, especially the millennial generation, is taking back that power.
Totally. And then that goes into my next question that I think about all the time now that he's out. What are we going to tell I put kids in quotes because not everyone's going to, I'm trying to be, not everyone's going to have kids or whatever. But like in the future, theoretically, what would you tell your kids? What would you tell your nieces and nephews when they have to, this will be in the history books. Kids will be learning about this. And I saw this one meme that's like, they better get it right. Because it's like, I was there. They better tell the story right. And personally, what I would tell them is, to me, Trump was just the product of the white American dream. That you can be anything and you can go anywhere. And it doesn't matter where you come from or how much money or experience you have. That you can go anywhere you want to go. And I think that mindset is very colonial to me. It's very toxic. Yes, it's very, but I would tell them, I would straight up tell them that he is the manifestation of the fake American dream to me. When people come here thinking that they can be anything, go anywhere, we all have the same opportunities, just pick yourself up your bootstraps, just get to work and you'll make it, That's not, we all know that's not true and that's not how it works. And the fact that it works for white rich men, it's just like he was just sleeping it like, it was embarrassing, but it was also us. It was our truth as America. That's why people were like, this isn't America. This isn't us. I was like, do you want to go back to 17, whatever, or 1490, whatever? Like, this is what we do. Like, what do you mean this isn't us? This has been us for a very long time. Us trying not to be this is new. Like, it's only been what? I'm trying to think of the last people that were allowed to vote. Was it the Native Americans were they last? Or was it black people last?
No, women were definitely last. Black women were last.
Black women were last. And it's like, that was in the 60s. So it's like 50 years. Like, we're not that, it hasn't been that long since shit hasn't been okay. Yeah. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is it. Like, I don't know. It was like, it wasn't shocking to a point. It wasn't to me that.
It's like white privilege personified.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what would you tell them if they were like, tell me about?
Yeah. What would I tell? I think that we're fortunate to be like coherent adults during this time in history, and I think I would first want to talk about the fact that I lived through and experienced Barack Obama's first term and then was able to vote for him for his second term. Like, that I think is like the better historical fact to talk about. Let's go back there. But I think for me, I would just want to make sure that I really just, talk about how I felt. And I think, watching what happened on January 6th, I feel like my subconscious almost had this, weird connection or flashback almost to how I felt on 9/11.
Damn.
And I had to take some time to like process through that, but it really like it was violent. It was awful, and we were watching it on TV. And the last time I watched something that violent and awful on TV, like live, like actually happening in real life, you know, because we watch TV shows and movies, but was 9/11, you know, and I was a kid. Like my parents pulled me out of school, you know, and I don't know. I think that what I will say when I am asked about having lived through this, is that I think the most incredible thing is that we're all just fighting for the same thing and can't get on the same page about it, you know? And it's the things that are now being said by this faction of people that are following Donald Trump is like, you know, they're taking away our rights and we don't have the right to this and we don't have that. And, you know, this isn't fair. And, you know, they want their right to the pursuit of happiness and life, liberty, and everything else, you know, God's guns and whatever the third G is, you know, like they want that stuff preserved. And they just don't, like, there's no extended empathy to understand that, like, the rest of us are saying that same thing, just in maybe a different capacity.
Right.
You know, we don't necessarily want more than, but just the same. Like, I mean, and not even, maybe that's not even the way to describe it, you know, like being, you know, equality and equity are two different things. But I think that, you know, describing not only the feeling of what it felt like, but, you know, also just, you know, teaching how we can prevent it from happening again, I think is the biggest thing. You know, like, let's just have this be that weird time, that weird one time, you know, and like, yeah, and just hopefully we don't ever have to live through this again.
Right. Now, this is an interesting question because I just thought about this. So I remember, like, we all know the white liberals that really mean well, but that overstep and overdo it sometimes. And I remember seeing this article where it was like, the white liberal, white liberal savior, where they're just like, oh my God. And it was like this person talking about experience where they had with this white liberal was like, you don't understand what black people went through. Like, you don't get it. And they were like, nah, boo, you don't get it. And it was like, just because you, and, you know, just because, you know, you're not a white man doesn't mean that you all of a sudden like can identify with the struggles of everybody else. And sometimes to throw in the question of some people's lives were not threatened by Trump. Did they like him? No. But did their daily life, was it affected? It was like it went about the same. And there were some moments where I heard what he was saying and I was upset, but I was like, wow, like he's not talking about me. Holy shit, he's talking about someone who's undocumented. He's talking about someone that looks like they're Muslim, quote unquote. He's talking about, it was just,
I had that experience though.
Yeah. And so I was going to ask you, you know, as a person in the queer community, he did, like, of course he did not like black people, but to the queer community, he threw, it was very obvious that he was homophobic, not for anybody's being happy or being a families or anything like that. So I just want to ask how you felt.
Yeah.
How'd you feel?
I think the biggest thing was, like having to sit down with my partner and having to develop this like emergency plan that, you know, when we were going through the whole, like, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg unfortunately passed away, and that was like instant panic for us because, you know, now we're looking at a uneven lean on the Supreme Court. So now the Supreme Court is now leaning more conservative and have less tendency to like want to pass, you know, these huge landmark laws, you know, and decide in these cases that affect so much. And having like LGBTQ rights on the line was really, really tough. And we were considering like, what's our plan? Like, are we going to go to town hall on the last possible day and get married so that we can have some sort of protection? You know, we were trying to plan, like, what are we going to do with our assets? Because we were really scared, you know? And I remember in the summer when they finally added gender identity and sexual orientation to be included in the Civil Rights Act so that we're considered a protected class when it comes to work, you know, especially being in Arizona, like, good Lord.
Yeah.
Like when that I cried when that happened, because this entire 4 years I just felt more attacked for this part of my identity than my ethnicity, you know. And that it was really tough some days to feel like I'm going out into a world and into, you know, paying taxes to a country and an administration that has no regard for my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really, that was tough because I really saw how dangerous he was then, that his influence and, you know, some people, unfortunately, I knew where they were going with this, but they were comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. Not the same, obviously. So not a good comparison for like the Holocaust, if you want to say, but his influence, the lies, the propaganda, how forceful he was, how he identified with a community who was really scared. These people, I don't even know the name of their organization. What is it? The Q what?
Oh, I don't honestly. Who knows?
The Q peep. The Q.
Is that what it is?
The Donald Trump supporters. They're actually scared. They're like, he's made them scared. They really think that they're in danger. In that, like, the basis of all of it is fear. Like, anytime I watch white supremacist groups, documentaries, or whatever, they all say the same shit. We don't want them to take our rights. They do this, they do that. And then at the bottom line, I'm like, okay, you're just scared, but you're like reaching for violence and hate and lies. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's like on the bottom line, it's like we want the same thing. I think that's just so irritating that it can be so divided and it's so split up. And I think that's what Donald Trump did. He really showed he did not divide the country, but it's like the division, he put there was like a little cover and like not everyone saw it, and then he like ripped it off and it was like, oh, what? Like, yeah, you have these people in the woodworks that
yeah,
they want a little separate America with just them on it.
And who knows, like, maybe we can give them Florida. I don't know.
I almost puked. You said give them Florida. But I think the relief we have moving... Well, no. First, the positivity of the unity, I think, especially towards the end of Trump's term, where we're all like, y'all, we gotta get it together. We gotta get it together. And Emma, who is like her family is very politically involved, and I'm so grateful because as a second generation voter, I don't know shit, and I kind of didn't care. Not that I didn't care, and I just I didn't care, and I thought I couldn't make a change. I thought that my vote didn't matter, and I'm thinking about all these trailblazers, these women, these black women, these organizers, if they were like, oh, I don't care, or, oh, we can't change anything, like, the system is the way that it is. And they, like we just heard, they've been working for years, this whole time. I thought, my dumbass, I just thought not that I thought they just started, but I didn't know they were doing this, like, that long, working on, these votes for these senators. I'm talking very general. Emma knows more. She's about to fill us in. But I want to talk about what, in conjunction with what we want to see in the next 4 years, I want you to touch on what has Biden done so far, and maybe what he has promised to do. We know there's stimulus, student loans. We're back in all these organizations that we shouldn't have been out of in the first place. Like, so dumb. We were not in the World Health Organization. Like, that looked stupid. Not us not being in that. I believe he stopped the Muslim ban. What else did he do?
I have a list.
Okay, Emma has a list. She's going to break it down.
Yes. So just for everyone's sake, we can definitely provide some resources if you want to look into all of this. I also want to encourage everyone. I think like social media, I know it's hard sometimes to be plugged in, but it is a resource to get connected with information, and then you can go further and dig in and do research and all that stuff. The first resource, though, that I want to point out is whitehouse.gov, because the past 4 years, going to whitehouse.gov was like, you're going to the campaign trail website for Donald Trump.
Right.
So now, thank God, we again have a whitehouse.gov that is devoted to releasing all new information, updates, etc., about the activities of the current administration. So anything that Joe Biden's doing, anything that Kamala Harris is doing, they're releasing that information on the website. So you can go directly there, and of course any reputable news source to see what the updates are. So as we know, it is, I mean, I guess as I know, but passing the information, it's traditional that on the day of the inauguration that a president will later in the day take meetings and sign immediate executive orders for things that they want to immediately implement, which usually, not all the time, but usually are reversing some things that the previous administration had put in place. So the biggest thing for Joe Biden to have done was to re-engage the United States with the World Health Organization to immediately end the withdrawal process that Trump had initiated. So that, we can have access to those resources and, most importantly, the information about COVID-19, so that our officials and departments here in our government can be notified by the World Health Organization and have those resources to prevent any further atrocities really from happening to the American people. So that was like the first one, the biggest one. But aside from that, he also signed a executive order for us to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement, which is huge to make sure that we are contributing to.
I remember when we backed up.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
That was just, I don't know. Just, we were in a wormhole for the past 4 years. So outside of that, he also signed an executive order for the revocation of the permit for the Keystone Pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah, huge deal. So this was like right at the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, all the pipelines, and huge deal for all of the indigenous people that are impacted negatively by that, and the local communities. So really big win, and thank you. Outside of that, I think another huge thing that relates to our economy and also the well-being of people is an extension for evictions and foreclosures. So Joe Biden did promise during his presidential run that he was going to work towards a moratorium. So that just is a extended pause on something. And in this case, it is evictions and foreclosures. So hopefully that's not happening to anybody, but if it is, contact your state office so you can get some help. And here's the big one that impacts me personally is the extension of the pause on paying back student loans.
Thank you, Jesus.
I know. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Yeah, let's get a cancel, but a pause is fine for now. So the biggest thing also, I think, is there was another executive order to just stop this weird commission that Trump tried to start. It's called the 1776 Commission.
Ew, I saw that. I thought that was fake.
Yeah, no, it's real. It was real. It was absolutely real. Yes. And this episode is not about that, but like Google it and we can get into it later. But definitely what I really appreciate is that, you know, no president's going to be perfect, but I appreciate the commitment of this administration to make racial equity a priority, and at least, like, you know, we're making steps forward. Like, it's not going to be perfect. They're not perfect people. They're certainly not going to hire the perfect person. Like, everyone's human. But, you know, if we can move the needle a little bit further, then let's do that.
Right.
So, of course, there's more help for DACA as well. So there's lots of promises there to hopefully help that community and make sure that they have increased protections in the U.S., requiring masks on all federal property and to be worn by all federal workers. And then really, really huge one is the signing of the executive order to combat discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. So, of course, the Supreme Court added this in a landmark case last year, but the signing of the executive order basically like seals the deal so that all the branches of government are in agreement about that policy. Okay. And that executive order will be removed if there is a law that makes it permanent. So,
okay.
I don't know all the intricacies, but again, we can, you know, dive into it deeper another time. But there's a slew of other executive orders that have been signed. It's like over 30. So, yeah. So that's what I do appreciate about this administration so far is that, you know, they really like hit the ground running literally day one, and just started making things happen.
Yeah, totally. And another thing that I wanted to have Miss Amita explain, because she got it down. You know, my brain is scattered. I don't have it straight like that. But so before the inauguration, we were hearing about a lot of movement and a lot of voting in Georgia. Personally, I was like, what y'all voting for? The president's not, what are you doing? And then I was like, oh, you guys need some senators? Okay, yeah. And obviously I don't live there, but I was like, woo, go vote. What are they doing? Why? Yeah, go do it. Yay, they won. And I was kind of like, I don't know what that was for. Why did we just have randomly two people? And you know, me not, realizing that the presidential election is not the only election. I'm curious for Emma to explain why we need to do that. What is that election called? And who are the two senators? And then maybe this is like a U.S. government question, but are we voting senators in year round?
Okay, yeah.
Can you help me? I'm just confused. I was definitely voting, but I was so confused.
So, to be honest, like, I don't think that our current political system is a good one. I just want to get that out and just say that. I also want to say I maybe know a little bit more than like the average person on the street, but I'm not an expert. So I just want to preface.
She's an expert.
So Georgia. So the first thing to do when talking about Georgia, I think, is you know, being here, you know, in Arizona, we were also in a really pivotal state. And I think that the average person doesn't always understand the complexities and the politicization of politics, right? And how all of these strategic moves in politics and all of these positions contribute to the greater intricate web of how the government is run, right. And namely, who has power. Power is the key word here. Like, you know, highlight it, circle it, write it down in your notes. Like, that's the whole thing. So we talked a lot last year, and I remember we did a podcast about, local government and why it's so important to be involved locally, and why it's important to understand, what's going on in my local government, who are my representatives, who's on my city council, things like that. And that is very important. But I think for those of us that are, wanting to be a little bit more involved and a little bit more educated voters, we have to not only understand what's going on at a local level, but what's going on nationally that would impact our ability. So there was a lot, I'm going to take us back a little bit, so bear with me, but there was a lot going on during Barack Obama's presidency, and people are saying, well, he didn't do this, or he didn't do that, or, that bill didn't pass. And I think what everyone has to remember is that if a president is not supported in the Senate, right? If the House of Representatives isn't supportive of the initiative or the law that needs to be passed, anything can die at any point. So, the life of a bill, right, or the life of a mission or a vision, it can be killed at any point.
Right.
So you need to have people strategically placed along the way to help it along so that it can get to the point where it can become a law. And again, completely different topic. We can talk about another time, but for something to become a law, it has to go a million different places. And there has to be so many sets of eyes and votes to, get it to the end.
Right.
So I think, we came to this, peak in the U.S. where, we bounce back and forth from having a, Republican-led or Democratic-led, depending on, which house we're in, whether we're talking about the senators or, just all of our branches of government. And when it came to Georgia, the sway of having 2 Democratic senators in that state was going to switch the majority into the favor of the Democrats. So when we have our 3 branches of government are all majority controlled by one political party, then they are able to pass legislation to get judges approved, to really make sure that administration's agenda is pushed forward rather than stopped at every point. Mm-hmm. So you could have a really progressive Democratic president who's out there wanting to do work for the people, wanting to make it happen, and then you go to our other 2 branches of government and they're like, nah, fam, we're not going to let you do that. And that's exactly what happened to Barack Obama. So he got this reputation of like, oh, well, he didn't really do anything. And it's like, no, we need to understand the complexities of all the things that are happening behind the scenes and all the other power players in our government that are putting a stop to what is meant to happen.
Right.
What the people want to happen. Mm-hmm. So, number one, this election in Georgia was historic for, a multitude of reasons, really, but really, I think that this is one of the first times in our modern history when the entire country has recognized and been able to, our conscious country, I should say, the people that are thinking the way that we are, we're able to recognize and give credit to the organizers, namely the Black women on the ground that were doing the legwork for literally a decade to make this happen. We have to take a moment for them, because without these people, we would not have a chance in hell of having flipped the Senate and now having Democratic control in all 3 branches of our government. That is huge. And that's going to create so much change for the people like us, right? Who are floating in the middle class that need that change. So number one, I just want everyone to know the names of these women, because I think that's super important. And we want to pay homage and respect to them, because without them, there could be no us. So number one is LaTosha Brown from the Black Voters Matter Fund. And I encourage everyone, as we're reading this off, please go look up these people. please follow their work, please support their work, donate to them, pay them for their time, make sure that you are amplifying their voice. Number 2 is Helen Butler from the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, and we can also list information or the resource as well if anyone wants to look it up. Number 3 is our girl, Stacey Abrams. Yes, everyone's light in such a dark time, honestly. And again, Stacey has been in politics for a long time, but she currently is with Fair Fight Action, the new Georgia Project, and Fair Count as well. So she's been really working on getting voters registered, making sure that they know what their rights are, making sure that they have the resources to understand how to use their voice, and really turning out the vote in Georgia. She's been a huge force for that. Number 4 is Deborah Scott, and she's with Georgia Stand Up. There's also Nisei Ufot, who is with the new Georgia Project. Amazing as well. What number are we on? 6? There's so many. Melanie L. Campbell, who is with the National Coalition on Black Participation. Tamika Atkins, who is with Pro Georgia. And so many others, really, that supported and bolstered these efforts with these organizations and really did the groundwork to make sure that Georgia showed up and showed out. And certainly I think that we have definitely an opportunity to talk more about our home state of Arizona, and we can lay out some of the groundwork of the organizers here. But this election in Georgia really had a huge impact on making sure that our newly sworn in senators, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, were successful in Georgia, and ultimately that's given us majority control in the Senate. Well, it's split, but yeah.
That gave me so much hope seeing all those. I don't know if you follow. I'm trying to think of that Facebook group. I don't know, but they is it Pantsuits? Women Pantsuit Nation?
Yeah, Pantsuit Nation.
Pantsuit Nation.
Yes.
I saw so many people posting like, I'm voting from Georgia. I'm voting from Georgia. We just voted. And I'm just like when I don't remember, like my mom's 67. She grew up in the hippie age where they were like really down with it. Black Panther, da-da-da. She's been saying, Kiana, I'm tired. I don't give a fuck. I'm old. I already did the shit. And now we're doing the shit. And to see us politically involved, to me, is such a big step, because it's like there's a lot of theories people have. Some people have the theory that we have to work with the system. Some people have the theory that we can't work with the system because the system works against us. And it's kind of like I understand that, but then it doesn't make me move forward when I hear that. Like, it's kind of, I feel defeated. Like, okay, there's nothing I can do to change. It is what it is, because it was just built on genocide and capitalism. So to see Georgia and to see these women take the reign and really pull it all together for all of us, because that's another thing I realized. I'm looking at Georgia like, okay, y'all, stop by now. You hear? Like, okay, do great over there. And I'm like, whoa, these two senators actually affect me and all of us. And that's why we were all really pulling together for them. And I think I want that to be the vibe the next 4 years. I want us to be more involved. I want us to be more like on Twitter. I was literally on Black Twitter the other day, and someone was like, y'all, we pay these senators, blah, blah, we pay these people. We need to get with it. Da, da, da. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like, yes. I'm trying to say it. It's like, we need to step in the building.
Yes.
We've been outside screaming for a long time.
Yes.
And we have to step in.
Okay. Let me say this. It's no longer like, oh, give me a seat at the table. No, honey. You need to get me a seat at the table with a 5-course meal and take me home in my limousine afterward. Like, I think especially our generation, and those that can vote. Like Gen Z came through also, like shout out Gen Z. Hello, like everybody who turned 18 just in time. But I think the most important thing that we all need to understand moving forward, like, we're talking about week 1, right? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are already hitting the ground running, and we can certainly be critical, right? Like there's certainly things that people are upset about still, or, we don't agree with maybe. And there's certainly the faction of people that are like, it should have been Bernie. And I hear you. But I think right now, like, we have to understand that we need to have our voices there. We need to, if you've ever thought of running for office, you've ever thought of the city council position, like, do that. Don't be afraid to do that. There's certainly resources out there to help you learn about it and get involved. But the most important thing that I want to drive home and, this segment of our conversation is that this system was intentionally designed for the white man. So all of it seemed, when people are like, oh man, like that's a lot. Like it's a lot to pay attention to. It's a lot to keep up with.
White people are paying attention.
But the white man is paying attention. Mm-hmm. And if we don't make it a priority to pay attention, we're going to continue to get passed by. And you are going to continue to think that you have control in your life because you're deciding what you want for breakfast. No, I want control in my life because I am deciding who is in a position of power that is going to speak for me and make decisions for me and my community. That is the most impactful thing. That is how you're going to have power over your life. And we have to understand that this whole entire system was designed to keep us out of it. It's designed to look and feel complicated and make you anxious and make you want to turn away and stop reading and shut off your phone and turn off the news, because they want to quietly move in silence so that they can do things that benefit them. And the more attention we bring, the louder we make it, and the more we try to put ourselves in the mix, the easier it will be. And slowly it will become something that is not so cumbersome, and we need to support people like AOC, these young politicians that are in the mix and they're trying to make politics accessible and sexy so that we care. But I think that's the biggest thing is just always remember that if it was designed for you not to have a seat at the table, it needs to become your number one mission to sit down.
Dark Sugar Podcast. We out.